There comes a moment in almost everyone's life when the weight of everything feels unbearable. Not because you're weak, not because you're lazy, but because you've been strong for too long. You've been carrying things no one else sees. You've been waking up every day, showing up, doing your best, even when your best felt like it wasn't enough. And today, you're tired. Today, you're wondering if it's even worth continuing. If that's you right now, I want you to pause for a second. Just breathe. You don't need to have answers. You don't need to feel motivated. You don't need to be strong in this moment. You just need to stay here with me for the next few minutes. Because this message is for the version of you that feels invisible. The version of you that feels like giving up is starting to sound like relief. Let's be honest. Nobody talks enough about how heavy life can feel. Social media shows wins, highlights, big smiles, perfect mornings, big houses, fast cars, happy families. But what it doesn't show are the nights people cry in their cars. The mornings they sit on the edge of the bed, staring at the floor, trying to find a reason to stand up. The silent battles with anxiety, self-doubt, financial pressure, broken relationships, loneliness, and fear of failing again. You've probably tried before. You've probably believed in yourself before. And then something happened. You failed. You got rejected. Someone left. A plan didn't work out. You trusted the wrong person. You put in effort and got nothing back. And every time that happens, it doesn't just hurt in the moment. It leaves a scar. It makes you hesitate the next time. It makes you question yourself. It makes you wonder if maybe you're just not meant for more. But here's the truth that nobody tells you when you're in pain. Feeling like giving up doesn't mean you're done. It means you've been trying. It means you've cared. It means you've invested your heart, your energy, your time into something that mattered to you. People who never try don't feel this tired. People who never dream don't feel this disappointed. The pain you feel is proof that you wanted something better. Think about that for a second. The exhaustion you feel right now is not weakness. It's evidence of effort. Sometimes we reach a point where the dream that once excited us now feels heavy. The goals that once energized us now feel impossible. And the future that once felt full of promise now feels blurry. When you're in that headspace, your mind starts telling you dangerous stories. It starts whispering things like, "What's the point? You're behind everyone else. You messed up too many times. Other people are more talented. You don't have what it takes. Maybe this just isn't for you." Those thoughts sound convincing because they show up when you're emotionally tired. But tired thoughts are not true thoughts. They are distorted by exhaustion, by disappointment, by fear. You don't see the full picture when you're at your lowest. You see the world through pain. And pain lies. Let me say that again. Pain lies. Pain tells you that this moment will last forever. It won't. Pain tells you that you are alone. You're not. Pain tells you that you're behind in life. There is no universal timeline. Pain tells you that you've wasted too much time. You're still breathing, which means you still have time. Look back at your life for a moment. You survived things you once thought would break you. There were moments you didn't think you'd make it through. Times when you thought, "This is it. I can't handle this." And yet, here you are, still standing, still breathing, still listening to this right now. That means there is a strength inside you that you might not even recognize anymore, but it's real. It's been carrying you quietly through every hard season. You don't need to be fearless to keep going. You just need to be willing to take one more step. Not a big step, not a life-changing decision, just one small step forward. Sometimes survival is not about motivation. Sometimes it's about refusing to quit on the day you feel like quitting the most. There's a quote by Winston Churchill that says, "If you're going through hell, keep going." Not because going is easy, not because you enjoy it, but because stopping in hell doesn't make sense. You don't sit down in the middle of pain and decide this is where your story ends. You keep moving until you find your way out. Even if your steps are slow, even if you're crawling, forward is forward. A lot of people think successful people are just lucky, that they were born confident, that things just worked out for them. But behind almost every success story is a chapter of doubt, failure, and wanting to quit. Look at Dwayne Johnson. Before fame, he was cut from a football team, had only a few dollars in his pocket, and felt like his life was falling apart. Or J.K. Rowling, who faced rejection after rejection before her book changed her life and inspired millions. Or Steve Jobs, who was fired from the very company he helped build. Their stories didn't look inspiring in the middle of the struggle. They only look inspiring in hindsight. Right now, you're in the middle of your story. The messy part, the confusing part, the painful part. Of course it doesn't feel meaningful yet. Of course it feels unfair. You're not reading the success chapter. You're living the struggle chapter. And struggle chapters never feel beautiful while you're in them. They only make sense later. You don't have to know how everything will work out. You don't have to see the full path. You don't need a perfect plan. You just need to believe one simple thing. This moment is not the end of your story. The chapter you're in right now is not the conclusion. It's the setup for the version of you that is stronger, wiser, and more resilient than you could imagine today. If you feel like giving up, that doesn't mean you're broken. It means you're human. It means you've been hurt. It means you've been trying. And trying, even when it hurts, is brave. So for now, don't quit your life. Don't quit your dream. Don't quit on yourself. Just make a deal with yourself to not make permanent decisions based on temporary pain. Stay, breathe, rest if you need to. But don't walk away from the future version of you who is quietly begging you not to give up today. There are days when you don't feel like a hero. You don't feel strong. You don't feel inspired. You feel empty. You feel behind. You feel like everyone else is moving forward while you're stuck in the same place, watching time pass you by. And the hardest part about feeling this way is that you start blaming yourself for it. You tell yourself that you should be better by now. You should be further by now. You should have figured life out by now. But here's something most people don't realize. Feeling stuck doesn't mean you're failing. It often means you're growing in ways that aren't visible yet. Growth isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes growth looks like confusion. Sometimes it looks like uncertainty. Sometimes it looks like sitting with uncomfortable feelings instead of running from them. That's still progress, even if it doesn't feel like it. We live in a world that celebrates speed, fast success, quick results, overnight wins, viral moments. But real change is usually slow. Real growth is usually boring. Real progress doesn't come with applause. It comes with consistency. It comes with doing small, uncomfortable things every day when nobody is watching. And that kind of progress is easy to overlook because it doesn't feel dramatic, but it's the kind that actually lasts. When you're tired, your mind tries to convince you that rest means quitting. But rest is not the same as giving up. Rest is part of the process. Even machines need maintenance. Even athletes need recovery days. Even the strongest people need moments to sit down, breathe, and gather themselves. You are not weak for needing a break. You're human. The problem is not that you're tired. The problem is when you believe that being tired means you're done. Sometimes the bravest thing you could do is slow down instead of stopping completely. You don't have to hustle every second of your life. You don't have to be productive every day. There are seasons where your job is to survive, not to shine. There are seasons where your only responsibility is to take care of your mental health, your emotional well-being, and your basic needs. And that is enough for now. One reason giving up feels tempting is because you've been carrying expectations that might not even be yours. Society tells you where you should be at a certain age. People around you have opinions about what success should look like. Family members might compare you to others. Friends might unintentionally make you feel behind with their achievements. But your life is not a competition. You are not racing anyone. You're on your own path, and your timeline is allowed to look different. Comparison is one of the fastest ways to lose motivation. The moment you measure your journey against someone else's highlight reel, you forget your own progress. You forget how far you've already come. You forget the obstacles you've already overcome. You forget the battles you've already survived. You start to see yourself as less, not because you're less, but because you're looking at yourself through an unfair lens. It's okay if your path looks messy. It's okay if you had to start over. It's okay if you change directions. It's okay if you're still figuring things out. Most people are. They just don't talk about it publicly. Everyone is struggling with something. Even the people who look like they have everything together. Everyone has doubts. Everyone feels lost sometimes. The difference is that some people keep moving even when they don't feel confident about where they're going. One thing that can help when you feel like giving up is to shrink the problem. Don't think about fixing your whole life. Don't think about achieving your biggest dream right now. That can feel overwhelming. Instead, ask yourself, what is the smallest step I can take today? Maybe it's sending one email. Maybe it's making one phone call. Maybe it's cleaning one corner of your room. Maybe it's drinking a glass of water. Maybe it's just getting out of bed. Small steps might feel insignificant, but they build momentum, and momentum changes everything. Another powerful shift is learning to talk to yourself differently. Pay attention to the way you speak to yourself when you fail or fall behind. Would you talk to someone you love that way? Would you call them useless? Would you tell them they're wasting their life? Probably not. Yet many people are incredibly harsh with themselves. Your inner voice matters. It shapes how you see yourself. It shapes how much courage you have to try again. Be firm with yourself. Yes. Hold yourself accountable. Yes. But don't be cruel to yourself. You're still learning. You are not defined by your worst day. You are not defined by your biggest mistake. You are not defined by the season you're struggling in right now. You are defined by your willingness to keep going, even when it feels pointless. Especially when it feels pointless, because that's when it matters the most. There's a powerful reminder from Theodore Roosevelt about the credit belonging to the person who is actually in the arena, getting their face marred by dust and sweat and blood, daring greatly even when they fail. The people watching from the sidelines don't feel what you feel. They don't carry your fears. They don't wake up with your worries. You do, and the fact that you're still trying, even while tired, means you're already stronger than you think. If you've been waiting for a sign to not quit today, let this be it. Not because things will magically get easier tomorrow. Not because all your problems will suddenly disappear. But because quitting today would rob you the chance to see who you become if you keep going. There's a future version of you that has learned from this pain. There is a future version of you that has figured things out more than you have today. And that future version of you is real. You just haven't met them yet. So don't rush to the ending of your story. Let yourself live through the process. Let yourself grow through the discomfort. Let yourself take imperfect steps forward. You're not late. You're not broken. You're becoming. At some point, you have to realize that motivation doesn't always come before action. Most people sit around waiting to feel ready, waiting to feel confident, waiting to feel inspired. But the truth is, confidence is built by doing, not by waiting. Motivation is something that often shows up after you take a step, not before. You move first, and the feeling follows later. Think about how many times you didn't feel like starting something, but once you began, even slowly, something inside you shifted. The hardest part is usually the first few minutes. The mind creates resistance because it wants to protect you from discomfort. It wants to keep you in what feels familiar, even if what's familiar is making you unhappy. Growth always feels uncomfortable at first. Comfort zones feel safe, but they're also where dreams go to sleep. When you feel like giving up, it's often because the goal feels too big and the progress feels too small. You're measuring your effort against the final outcome instead of against where you started. That gap can feel discouraging. But big outcomes are just the result of small actions repeated over time. No one climbs a mountain in one step. They take one step, then another, and sometimes they stop to catch their breath. Stopping to breathe is not quitting. It's preparing to keep going. You don't need a dramatic breakthrough to change your direction. You need small habits that point you in the right direction. One better choice today. One small improvement. One moment of discipline. One moment of courage. These moments seem insignificant on their own, but they compound. They stack. Over time, they create a version of you that can handle more than the version you are today. A lot of people quit not because they can't continue, but because they underestimate what small consistency can do. They expect to see massive change in a short time. When that doesn't happen, they assume they're failing. But progress is often invisible before it becomes obvious. Seeds grow underground before they ever break the surface. You don't see roots forming, but that doesn't mean nothing is happening. Something is happening, even when you can't see it yet. There will be days when you mess up, days when you break your routine, days when you fall back into old habits. That doesn't erase your progress. It just means you're human. The difference between people who move forward and people who stay stuck is not that one group never fails. It's that one group doesn't let failure be the end of the story. They restart. They forgive themselves. They adjust. Then they try again. It's easy to be disciplined when you feel good. The real test is whether you can show up when you don't feel like it. Discipline is not punishment. It's self-respect in action. It's choosing what you want most over what you want right now. It's making decisions today that your future self will thank you for. Even small acts of discipline build trust with yourself. And when you trust yourself, you feel stronger. You feel more capable. You feel more in control of your direction. One thing that helps is remembering that you don't need to do everything alone. Asking for help is not weakness. It's wisdom. Talking to someone you trust. Learning from someone who has walked the path you're on. Listening to voices that remind you of your potential when you've forgotten it. None of us succeed completely on our own. We all need support at different stages of life. Let yourself receive it. There's a reason why so many people find strength in words spoken by others who've been through hard times. When Eminem talked about rising after being counted out, or when Oprah Winfrey shares how she turned pain into purpose, it resonates because struggle is universal. Their success didn't erase their pain. It transformed it into fuel. You might not have a global stage, but you have a story. And your story can become a source of strength for you and for others. You don't have to become a different person overnight. You don't have to fix everything at once. You just have to stay in the game. Stay curious. Stay open. Stay willing to try again tomorrow. Even if today wasn't great. Especially if today wasn't great. The version of you who keeps going on the hard days is building something powerful. They're building resilience. They're building character. They're building proof that you don't quit just because things get uncomfortable. One day, you'll look back at this version of you and be grateful that you didn't give up when it would have been easy to walk away. So if you're tired right now, let yourself be tired. Rest if you need to. Cry if you need to. Step away for a moment if you need to. But come back. Come back to your goals. Come back to your dreams. Come back to yourself. You're still in this. And as long as you're still in this, your story is still being written. There will come a day when this version of you feels far away. A day when the heaviness you're carrying right now doesn't sit on your chest anymore. A day when you look back at this moment and realize it was shaping you, not breaking you. It might not feel like that today, and that's okay. Healing and growth don't move in straight lines. They move in circles and steps forward and steps back, in moments of clarity followed by moments of doubt. Progress is messy, and that messiness doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. One of the most powerful things you can do when you feel like giving up is to zoom out. Your life is not just this week, not just this month, not just this year. You are a long story being written one chapter at a time. Some chapters are slow. Some chapters are painful. Some chapters are confusing. But they are still part of a larger narrative that you can't fully see yet. You're standing inside the page, trying to judge the whole book. When everything feels heavy, your world shrinks. Problems feel bigger than they actually are because they're all you can see. But your life is bigger than this moment. Your identity is bigger than this struggle. You are not only the person who is hurting right now, you are also the person who has survived every hard day before this one. That history matters. It's proof of your resilience, even if you don't feel resilient right now. Forgive yourself for the days you didn't show up as your best self. Forgive yourself for the times you procrastinated. Forgive yourself for the moments you chose comfort over growth. You were doing the best you could with what you had at the time. Growth is not about pretending you never failed. It's about learning without letting shame define you. Shame keeps you stuck in the past. Compassion moves you forward. There's a difference between giving up and letting go. Giving up is walking away from your potential because you're tired. Letting go is releasing the version of the dream that no longer fits who you're becoming. Sometimes you don't need to quit your goal. You need to adjust how you're chasing it. Sometimes the path you imagine isn't the path that will take you where you need to go. Flexibility is not failure. Adaptation is intelligence. A lot of people stay stuck because they're afraid of choosing wrong. They wait for certainty before they move. But certainty rarely comes before action. Clarity is created by movement. You learn what fits you by trying things. You learn what doesn't by making mistakes. Every wrong turn still teaches you something valuable about yourself. There is no such thing as wasted effort when you're learning. If you're feeling lost, let yourself be a beginner again. Beginners are allowed to be imperfect. Beginners are allowed to move slowly. Beginners are allowed to ask questions. Beginners are allowed to change their minds. You don't have to be an expert at life to take your next step. You just have to be willing to learn as you go. Sometimes strength looks quiet. It's not loud confidence or dramatic breakthroughs. It's getting up on days when you'd rather stay down. It's choosing to care even when you're scared of being disappointed again. It's staying open even when closing off would feel safer. Quiet strength doesn't get much attention, but it builds a foundation for everything meaningful in your life. People often find hope in stories of those who kept going despite setbacks. Michael Jordan was cut from his high school varsity team, and Serena Williams faced criticism and doubt throughout her career. Their journeys weren't smooth, but persistence shaped their greatness. You don't have to become a world-famous athlete to apply that lesson. You just have to keep choosing progress over quitting in your own life, in your own lane. One day, you'll be proud of the version of you that didn't quit when it would have been easier to walk away. You'll be grateful that you stayed long enough for things to change. Because change does come. Not always in the way you expect. Not always on your timeline. But effort has a way of reshaping your future in quiet, powerful ways. So when the thought of giving up shows up, don't judge yourself for having it. Just don't let that thought make your decisions for you. Thoughts are temporary. Feelings pass. You don't have to obey every emotion that visits your mind. You can acknowledge the pain and still choose to move forward. Let this be the moment you decide to stay in your story. Not because it's easy. Not because you're suddenly fearless. But because your future deserves a chance to exist. And the only way your future gets that chance is if you don't quit today. You're allowed to move slowly. You're allowed to take breaks. You're allowed to feel tired. Just don't give up on yourself. Not today. Not here.